Now taking the field, your starting lineup for the Washed Up Podcast. Batting first, he's got hot takes and harder swings. Nate Mueller. In the 2 spot, breaking down plays and calling out the refs, Alex Schneider. And batting third, bringing the heat with no filter, Derek Dunn. This is the Washed Up Podcast. Baseball, football, and more, where the game never ends and the takes keep coming. Let's get into it.
All right, guys, welcome to episode 2 of the Washed Up Podcast. We're glad you guys liked our episode 1. We've seen quite a bit of engagement and searches and such on Spotify. We did get all of our social medias put up. We will be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts every week. We plan to be very active on TikTok. We are the Washed Up Podcast on TikTok. Please like, follow, subscribe to our content so you get notified when we release a new episode or post anything. And I wanted to give a shout out to our very first commenter on Spotify, Mr. Torrey. We appreciate you very much for being our first comment. Thank you. First, we want to get into some MLB news for the last week. Just a few things we wanted to touch on here. The New York Mets put David Wright into their Team Hall of Fame and retire the number 5. Now, Schneids, I don't know, you might have something to say about this, but I thought when watching him, when he played the Braves and such, that he was potentially going to be an MLB Hall of Famer. He played good defense. I always remember the clip of him running towards the third base line in left field and barehand catching a ball over his shoulder. And he was a really good hitter too, but he had a lot of back issues that kind of derailed his career.
Yeah, I mean, just another guy that plays professional sports that kind of got hit with the injury bug, a potential Hall of Famer, like you said, definitely a superstar for the years that he was playing. I always remember him as Mr. USA because that was his thing. I always enjoyed watching him play. I thought he was a heck of a ball player. It just sucks that injuries kind of killed his career in a way of being able to play and put up the numbers. But I think a great move by the Mets. I can't believe it took this long. I really would have thought that would have come sooner. But yeah, very much deserving.
I agree. One of the other things I have on here is the throw that Acuna made from the warning track in right field against the Yankees. This is almost a full week ago. I'm sure everybody's seen it by now. And it just goes to show that Ronald wouldn't have made that play if Vivas would have been just hustling and maybe slid into the base. But he apparently didn't think there would be a play because of how Ronald nonchalantly caught the ball and threw it to third on a line 300 feet, a missile throw, and Nacho Alvarez Jr. tagged him out. So that was like, I think the MLB actually labeled it as their play of the week. The other news I have for MLB is the Phillies signed David Robertson. He's been a free agent all year. They need some bullpen help, so they went out and signed David Robertson. And then the last part of news for the MLB before we get into some other trade deadline stuff and talk about the Braves and Cardinals is that they released the jerseys for the MLB Speedway Classic, which will be played on August 2nd, 2025. And it is in Bristol, Tennessee on a racetrack. I've seen they had some pictures of the stadium inside the middle of the racetrack there, and I think that'll be pretty cool. The jerseys actually look cool. It's almost like they worked on half of the jersey, though, like the numbers and the hats, and that's pretty much it.
I mean, I don't know how... I think it'd be pretty hard to tie in NASCAR or racing, into baseball. I thought it was really corny. They went with, like, the flames on the hats. I felt like... I don't know. It just... It looked really corny to me. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of that. Speaking of the David Robertson, dude, if you need bullpen help so bad that you're going to call on a 40-year-old reliever, that's insane to me. I feel like there's a lot of options out there that you could have went and got. I know the Cardinals are getting ready, hopefully, to fire sale some of theirs. I'll get into that in a minute. And then the Acuna's throw. Derek, as you being an outfielder, I don't know if you got a chance to see this, but I'm glad the Yankees player did not slide, because being able to watch somebody throw the ball 300 feet on a line, flat-footed, so no crow hop, no nothing, literally just picked it up out of his glove and threw it across the diamond from the right field corner to third base. Like, there are moments and times in sports where I'm glad some players don't actually, like, hustle and do what they're supposed to, so that we can see, like, crazy plays like that. Like, it reminded me a lot of, like, Ichiro. Like, an Ichiro throw is what it reminded me of a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's being an outfielder, that's every outfielder's dream, is to be able to pull something off like that. Because, I mean, even like when we play slow pitch, being able to throw somebody out on a line from the outfield is always a great feeling.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of being able to do that here and there, so it is awesome. It gives me a rush. So it was a pretty crazy throw. Nobody on the field expected it, I don't think.
Going back to these jerseys, you really don't like those?
I don't think I do, really. Like, it's neat that they're trying something different, but like I said, it's almost like they worked on half of the jersey. Like, their names aren't different. That basically, it's the numbers and the flames.
It's really, and then there's like a checkered pattern on the Reds hats.
Yeah, that's it. It seems very corny to me.
I kind of like the numbers. I think it's a cool way to incorporate it. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about the hats.
The numbers are easily the best part of what they changed. I agree. Okay, I'll talk here about my Braves a little bit. I was going to say that they were coming out hot out of the All-Star break, but they won the first game against the Yankees and then proceeded to drop 2, and then they did the same thing with the Giants. So it's a lost season at this point. It's pretty sad, because people were talking about this being a dynasty. They won the World Series in 21, 101 games in 22, 104 in 23, and then last year and this year now, like, injuries aside, they should be doing better than what they are doing. They are the 6th worst record in the MLB right now. That's pretty pitiful for when you look up and down their 40-man roster, the guys, the names that are on the team. They did make a small trade. They got Dane Dunning from the Rangers for Jose Ruiz and cash considerations. I don't think it moves the needle at all. Like, at this point, I think it's time to be done. The other thing that happened with my Braves recently was this Eddie Perez and Jazz Chisholm situation, which I have a hard time, like, understanding how the Braves could be upset about the sign stealing to begin with. Just Chisholm was on second base, and he was relaying signs into Anthony Volpe while he was hitting. But it's 2025. You have PitchCom, and you're still using finger signs to the point where Chisholm can relay the signs to the hitter. And then, like, Perez is standing up for his guys in a way, I guess. Like, I get it to an extent. But, like, just use the PitchCom. What is the issue? Like, they stopped the game to make sure the PitchCom is working. So just use the PitchCom.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. If we were taught this, I think we were taught this in, like, middle school. If you were on second base, your whole objective, obviously outside of being thrown out on a pickoff move or whatever, but your whole objective was to try and get the sign from the catcher so you could let the batter know what was going on. So if there's any sort of uproar or whatever about Jazz Chisholm taking a sign and relaying it to his batter, like, to me, like you said, if it's 2025, you have the PitchCom that gets rid of basically all of that. And if you're not using it and you're using your fingers, the fact that you could be mad at somebody for playing the game, like it is actively how the game is taught to be played. It is taught at a very young age when kids are pitching to, one, as a pitcher, you don't get in a rhythm and you don't make the signs easy to be stolen, basically, and relayed. And then if you're the runner, your objective is to try and see what the sign is to give your teammate the best possible chance at the plate. So if there is any sort of uproar, if there is anybody that is upset about Jazz Chisholm stealing signs, I would tell you to get over yourself, because that is absolutely ridiculous, right? At some point in time, you have to understand, like, you might be a fan of the Braves, but you are also, like, a fan of baseball in general. And if you know anything about baseball, then you know that is taught from a very young age. So I don't understand why there would be any issue. Like you said, I guess Eddie Perez is kind of standing for his guys. But at some point in time, like, if I'm the manager or the pitching coach or the catching coach, I'm going to those players and I'm like, hey guys, like, we can't make this that easy, right? You guys are in the big leagues. They're in the big leagues. Let's kind of figure this out. And so this doesn't happen again. Either use the pitch com or make the sign groups that you have harder to figure out.
Yeah, I agree. And it brings me back to just a little bit of story time here. When I was a senior, we were playing in the regional championship against Westcliffe. And actually, we had their signs. And I believe they were, doing the thing where they put out 3 numbers to the catcher. And each number meant, this pitch, this spot, whatever. And we actually got their signs probably about halfway through the game, and actually won on a walk-off grand slam due to the fact that we had their signs. So a little story there. Did you ever have any situations in your ball playing days, Derek, where you guys ever stole signs or signs were stolen against you guys or anything like that?
No, not that I can remember. I do want to kind of touch on that, though. Do you think the league is just more sensitive to that kind of stuff because of what happened, with the whole Astros ordeal? Like, everybody's quick to call that sign stealing just to try to, catch somebody possibly in the act of doing what they were doing. Like, I feel like that might have a little bit to do with it because of, the climate, I guess, that everybody felt towards that whole situation.
Well, the fix that they put in place was the pitch count.
Right, and I know you've touched on that, but I'm just saying, like, it's one of those things where it happens once and now everybody wants to, try to cause an ordeal with it. At least that's kind of how I think about it.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but, like, at this point, the fix is easy. It's there. Like, I don't think you have any reason to complain about sign stealing at this point. Like, they've given you an opportunity to completely eliminate sign stealing. Like, and if you watch an MLB game these days, like, a catcher will even, like, pat his glove on the ground and then, boom, set up high. Like, oh, I'm going to show the runner I want it low, or I want the batter to hear me tap it on the ground, and then I'm going to put my glove up high. Like, there's so many things you can do to prevent this. So instead, it pains me to say because they're my team, but, like, instead of complaining about them stealing the signs, just use the pitch comp.
Yeah, I think it has to do with just people being like, and we can all agree to this, right? Because we grew up in the '90s, we started watching sports early 2000s. Like, I think it has a thing to do with, like, players in general are just softer. If I'm being honest with you, like, people just don't think that something like this could happen to them because, oh well, we're professionals. They're not supposed to steal our signs. Like, surely this won't happen to us until it does, and now you're upset about it for no reason. Like, it's your fault that they picked up on those signs. Jazz Chisholm did his job. Quit being soft and play the game, right?
Well, and the other part is
that's why I don't understand. Like, Eddie Perez is an old school guy. Like, I don't know if somebody else got upset about it and said something to Eddie, or, like, it was really Eddie that had the issue with it.
Well, like, if you're not going to use, like you said, the pitch com, then, in my opinion, you don't really have a argument to be made. Like, you are actively choosing not to use it, and the other team is trying to get the advantage. Like, I don't understand where your grounds are to complain about it if you're actively choosing not to use something that is the resolution to the problem.
Dude, I mean,
100%.
that is sports in general right now, is any way to complain, to try to benefit you somehow. And I'll be honest with you, right? Like, I'm gonna make a comment here. I know we're not talking about the NFL, but you could almost see it probably close to every week in a Chiefs game with Patrick Mahomes, right? The whole, like, oh, he barely touched me, or he touched my towel, I need a flag, blah, blah, blah. Like, I get you're trying to get a advantage on the other team, so you want to take whatever you can, but at some point in time, when is it ever going to be, hey, this is my best versus your best, let's just go at it and see what happens? That's what I miss from sports, right? Like, that was always the thing when I played that made, like, it kept me coming back to playing, was always, this is me versus you, who's better at this time, let's go at it, right? If you're the pitcher and somebody stole your signs, obviously, then you're not the better one, right? And at the end of the day, too, like, let's be honest, like, knowing what's coming when you're hitting is a huge advantage, but you still have to hit it, right? As a pitcher, in my opinion, like, if you're not throwing your best pitches because you think you have this at bat on a lockdown, like, then that's your fault too. Like, I should be able to tell you, hey, I'm throwing you a fastball, and if I'm good enough, like, you're still not going to hit it, or you're not going to hit it, you're not actually going to get a hit. It may be a ground ball or a fly out, right? At the end of the day, like, it needs to be you versus the guy in the box, and forget about what's going on if someone stole your signs or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. You want to go ahead, Schneids, and give an update on your Cardinals?
I mean, I can. It's not going to be much of one. The Cardinals are at a snail's pace coming out of the All-Star break. If you lose 2 games to Colorado, I think it's time to basically call it the end. Colorado, I think I heard today, their run differential's like negative 253. So basically, it is time to start selling, in my book. Trade away the guys that either A, don't want to be there, B, they're not part of, like, your future plans. And when I say future plans, I mean, like, when you think of the ball club in 5 years from now, are these guys going to be there? I would trade them all. I love Nolan Arenado. I've loved him since he got in the league. Being a guy that pays a lot of attention to defense, I've always appreciated guys like Nolan Arenado. But Nolan Arenado should be gone. Ryan Helsley is going to end up being gone. Some club will pick him up. Phil Maton will be gone. Steven Matz, surprisingly enough, has pitched his way into being a good trade bait for somebody. And the one guy I thought that they might have gotten something out of, they actually designated for assignment today, and that was Fetty. To me, it's open shop. It's open season. Cardinals are the supermarket, and we're open 24/7. Make me a deal, and we'll see what we can get done, and actually go forward with this youth movement that you've been talking about all season. We can all remember, right? And I know, Nate, you can for sure. When I watched the Cardinals growing up and hearing about players getting ready to retire, you start thinking about, oh man, what are they going to look like? This is the first time that this has happened since I've started watching, that I'm actually excited for what the future holds for the Cardinals. I think they have a lot of good pitching. I think they have a lot of good young players coming up, position players. So I'm pretty pumped about that. The only other thing that I had was Nolan Gorman lands on the IL with a lower back pain, which kind of sucks ahead of the trade deadline because I know he's been talked about being traded. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like with you are with your Braves, but it's season's pretty much done. starts selling, getting rid of guys. I guess the Braves aren't necessarily selling, but I hope the Cardinals sell everything.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you real quick, who are your players that you think are untouchable, real quick?
If I'm being honest with you, I would tell you no one. I don't think that there's.
Come on.
Seriously, I really don't. Like, here's like
Mason Wynn?
Well, okay, yeah, okay. So I guess I didn't think about that. I was thinking of the actual people who have been mentioned in trades, but like, yeah, like Mason Wynn's not going anywhere. Victor Scott's not going anywhere. People are saying that Nolan Arenado and Wilson Contreras and Sonny Gray are untouchable, and I don't think that that's necessarily true. Like, I would trade those guys, right? Nothing against Wilson Contreras. Wilson Contreras has had a great season so far. Switching to first base, he's hitting. He's playing a pretty solid first base. I would even trade him because I think Wilson Contreras, just like Nolan Arenado, right? They are the ones that bring the fire to the clubhouse. They are the guys that people look to as leaders and have had a very seasoned career. And I think that they deserve a chance to go win. And I think that John Mozeliak, sorry when I say Mo, lied to both of those players and said that they were going to be competitive just to get them here to sell tickets, to sell jerseys. And I don't think it's fair to them. I think that they should be moved on. I think they should go to a contender. I would hate to see Nolan Arenado with the Yankees. I hope I hope he gets traded, but not to the Yankees, because I despise the pinstripes. But yeah, I mean, like your guys like Mason Wynn and stuff like that, and your young pitching are untouchable. But I would say for the most part, your guys that are on those contracts and are older players, they're all for sale.
Okay, well, we made a list of our top 5 trade candidates, which I think this first one will prevent the Yankees from trading for Nolan Arenado. Mr. Eugenio Suarez, third baseman for the Diamondbacks. He is mashing the ball, man. I think he had 4 homers in 2 games time against the Cardinals.
Thanks for reminding me.
We have the best. Yeah, you're welcome. We have the best fits down as the Yankees or the Tigers in our eyes.
Yeah. Stephen Kwan, left fielder for the Guardians. Guardians just really aren't doing a whole lot, so he'll be picked up. The best fits we had for him were Phillies or Mets.
We also have Jarren Duran, who's an outfielder for the Red Sox. He's kind of played center and left, but since they called up Roman Anthony, they have a logjam in the outfield with Abreu, Zidane, Rafaela, and Anthony. So the 3 teams we have down for him are the Padres, my Braves, or the Phillies.
Sandy Alcantara for the Marlins, starting pitcher, former Cardinal. Coming off of Tommy John, I think people are just kind of looking at him as they can be, middle of the rotation guy. I don't think he's having like a super great season, but we have Cubs, Astros, Blue Jays, or Dodgers.
And then our last one on our top 5 is Emmanuel Clase, who is the closer for the Guardians. Same kind of deal as Kwan. The Guardians they're not going to win that division. Clase is one of the better closers in baseball. He's kind of had a little bit of a down year, but he'll still be a very good back of the bullpen arm for who we think maybe the Dodgers, Phillies, Yankees, Mets, Cubs, or Tigers. Basically all of the juggernaut division leaders, all those teams can always use a back of the bullpen arm. Derek.
Yes, this Derek section, baby.
Yeah, do you want to get into some NFL stuff?
All right. Yeah, so obviously the big news over the last, week or so was TJ Watt signed a massive extension to make him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. He signs a 3-year, $123 million extension with the Steelers. Well-deserved, in my opinion. The guy is in the running for Defensive Player of the Year every year. So, I mean, I don't see a more deserving person for a contract like that. Some other news: Von Miller gets a deal done with the Washington Commanders for $6.1 million. And the interesting one that we went over kind of yesterday and the day before was Will Levis is having season-ending shoulder surgery. Kind of an interesting time to announce it, but it was reported early last year that he aggravated an AC joint injury, and I think it just got progressively worse over the season, and he's probably seeing the writing on the wall with them drafting Cam Ward, so he opts to get season-ending surgery on the injury that he sustained last year. Some other news: the Seahawks cut Noah Fant. Chiefs are extending Carl Loftus, gets a 4-year, $93 million deal. Phillip Rivers, longtime Charger, haven't heard his name in a while, but he announced his retirement. And then some other guys that announced a retirement this week. Longtime Saints tight end Jimmy Graham retired, and his teammate, Saints safety Tyrann Mathieu, retired as well. As far as camp news, we got Terry McLaurin. It was announced that he is not reporting to camp. He's holding out due to contract extension stalls. He is officially on Washington's reserve roster, so he is not reporting. And then the one we talked about last week, which is interesting with this TJ Watt extension, is Hendrickson is not reporting to camp as well. So I kind of know we touched on this last week about not paying players and they get progressively more expensive. Well, in my opinion, Hendrickson with this Watt extension just got a lot more expensive for the Bengals to try to keep. So, you could have.
Sorry, go ahead.
You could, in my opinion, the Bengals could have saved a little bit of money if they would have paid him earlier. But now you're going to have to compete with the TJ Watt extension that he just signed, because, I mean, Hendrickson was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year last year. So he's going to demand the money that, TJ Watt just received. So, and in my opinion, again, it's well deserved. I mean, if you're that type of player, granted, TJ Watt, in my opinion, has done it a little bit longer on a more consistent basis, but when the timing's there, the timing's there. He had a great year last year going into a possible contract year. For the Bengals, he just got a lot more expensive.
Is he worth? Because so I'll be honest with everyone that pays attention to the show. I follow football, but at a very what's the word I'm looking for? Like at the very
elementary.
I follow it. I know the players, but I guess I don't know the nitty gritty. Is Hendrickson, like, if you were a GM, is Hendrickson worth more than TJ Watt?
I mean,
I think he's not, personally, but Hendrickson's going to think he's worth as much or more because of, like Derek's talking about, they were both in the defensive. Well, no, Watt wasn't because he was hurt, right, Derek?
Right.
So Hendrickson was in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. To me, I would, if they were both sitting there, let's say they're even free agents, I'm easily paying Watt more money.
Well, because I know Hendrickson, didn't he lead the league in sacks 2 of the last 3 years or something crazy like that?
So he was a 17.5 sack guy last year. My thing where I would make Watt more valuable, and this is, again, just my opinion, is the fact that he has done it more consistently for longer. I mean, like I said, think back to a year to where he was not in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. Because you really, it's almost every single year.
Right. Well, I know TJ Watt a little bit better than I know Hendrickson. Right. So I know TJ Watt, his dude's an absolute dog. It was like his brother left the league, and it was like he was reincarnated with TJ, right? We all saw JJ Watt just tear up the league for years, right? So I know TJ Watt's a dog, but when I started thinking about it, I was like, well, I know Hendrickson he was the leader in sacks last year at 17.5, but I don't know if he has the track record to demand TJ's money.
So the year before, last year, 2023, I guess it wasn't, well, last year it would have been 24, but 23, he had 17 and a half sacks as well. And his next highest year is 14 sacks in 2021, his first year with the Bengals. So, I mean, the man gets sacks. I mean, he's not like I don't want to say he's like a slouch, but I would put him in that consistent, 12 plus sack a year at least range, in my opinion. So teams are going to pay for pass rushers. They always do. And in my opinion, a lot of teams are going back to the building blocks of, fortifying your offense and defensive line, which is great for us old school smash mouth football fans. We like to see that. But you've seen a lot of teams this year in the offseason really bolster their offensive and defensive lines. So teams are going to pay him. So,
right.
And he knows that. Pass rushers are at a premium, and when you've put 17 and a half sacks up back-to-back season, you're going to get money. And again, it's well-deserved. It's, they get paid a premium because they are, those premium players. They don't just grow on trees. So,
So Derek, if you're Cincinnati GM, what's your stance? What do you do here?
Again, it goes back kind of what I talked about last year. I respect Joe Burrow's commitment to T. Higgins. Like, that's the type of character trait that you want in your quarterback. But I also think that it does a lot of harm signing guys like that, because now they can't give this, I don't know how it works to where they can sign Hendrickson, if I'm being completely honest, because of the amount of their salary cap that's going to Burrow, Chase, and now Higgins. They're going to have a similar situation, in my opinion, to like Dallas. And I know Schneid's probably pains you that I keep bringing it up.
Yeah, thank you.
Dallas, I mean, you think about with Dak and CD, those two are taking up huge amount of cap space for the whole team, and it just makes it really hard to build a team around guys that, are soaking up so much of your salary cap. I don't see how it gets done. I could be wrong. And it's going to hurt. I mean, they missed the playoffs because their defense was not great last year, and you lose a guy like that, and you're definitely not getting better on the defensive side of the ball. And now, the other contract talk with their first round pick, it's just not a good look right now for Cincinnati. So they're really going to have to knock it out of the park, in my opinion, in the next couple of years draft to try to win some stuff on some rookie deals on the defensive side of the ball, because I just don't know how they do it otherwise.
I'd like to make switching kind of topics here. I want to make two comments here about the one signing, and that is Von Miller. I will talk about Von Miller first. How long is this dude gonna play NFL football? Like, I feel like this dude's been in the league for freaking 20 years.
Well, I mean, like,
and he just keeps getting deals. Dude's
yeah, but he's another one of them consistent players. I mean, he's older, but I mean, he's definitely not going to give you the production that he used to. But he's still a solid edge rusher.
And
yeah, I feel like he's a guy, third down, you put your pass rushers in, and he's gonna get off his blocker.
And the other comment I wanted to make about that, dude, how good are these Commanders going to be? It pains me so much to say it out loud, but I legitimately think that they're going to be able to compete with the Eagles.
I mean, they did last year, and I think they've only gotten better. The only thing where I
really think they're going to be really good.
The only thing that I see it being an issue is the McLaurin situation. Are they going to pay him? Is he going to play? Because I think that offense suffers a lot without him. I think he's a very versatile player, and he doesn't get enough credit. I think he's one of the most underrated receivers in the league, although last year he kind of had a breakout year and people started paying a little bit more attention to him. But he's always kind of been a guy that's flown under the radar, at least in my opinion. Nobody really ever talks about him when they talk about the top receivers in the league. But I think that it just attests to his consistency. I mean, he's a very consistent receiver. He doesn't have a ton of those, breakout crazy games. He's just a very consistent wide receiver 1. So it's going to depend a lot on what he's going to do. But they've got a lot of talent in Washington. I'm not going to be surprised if they do compete.
So is him being an under the radar wide receiver? Is that because of, like, in his case, specifically his case, because of the quarterback? Like, you now have a quarterback that's like that is able to almost make you be the standout. Because, like, I like I said, very ground level here when it comes to watching the NFL, but I know that Washington has not really had the greatest of luck when it comes to quarterbacks, right? Like, we all know that, and they now have a stud at quarterback, and this is the part where your quarterbacks make players around them better, right? So you said McLaren, like, was a very under the radar wide receiver. He was good, steady guy, and now that he has arguably a top 5, top 7 quarterback probably in the league, from the things that I've heard listening to different radio broadcasts and whatnot, he's now becoming like a household name. People know who he is.
Yeah, I mean, that you can only do so much as a receiver, right?
Right.
And I think that probably does have a huge factor into why he is kind of the under the radar guy, just because he hasn't had great quarterback play since he's been there. I'm a huge Jaden Daniels fan. I was when he came out in the draft. I thought he was the best one in that draft class. I know that's a hot take. I know that's a hot take because of who he came in with. Everybody thinks Caleb Williams is the better bet, but you just can't argue with the level of play that a guy has had for as long as he had. As long as he doesn't have a sophomore slump, kind of similar to what CJ Stroud had last year. I'm telling you what, man, people I think are going to have them a little bit more, they're going to be a little bit more respectable this year, but I also don't think people fully know their capability on how good they're actually going to be. Like I said, especially if he keeps ascending and does not have that sophomore slump.
I think some of him being an underrated receiver could also just be the case that he's in Washington. Like, if you think about the big-time receivers that are in the game that get a lot of notoriety, it's similar to baseball. All you hear about is Judge and Ohtani. I think that might have a little bit to do with it, too.
Yeah, but I mean, like, football, right? Because you only play, I say you only play, like they should play more, but you play one game a week. You know what I mean? So I think in the NFL, it's easier to be a standout name while not being in a standout city, right? Like, I think it's very easy to, as long as you control what you can control, right? Like, this is a little harder because it's a wide receiver. He depends on the quarterback to get him the ball. I agree with you to a degree that being in Washington probably does play a little bit of part in it. I would argue, which I'm not saying that you're not, but my argument would be that it depends on the quarterback a lot when it comes to the pass catchers. Your tight ends, your wide receivers. Like, if your quarterback is not good, you as a player aren't going to look as good as if you had at least a just above average quarterback.
Well, another thing that people don't talk about, and it's going to sound like we're all like Commander fans, but another thing that people don't think about is like the crazy part about the whole situation is they had a completely new coaching staff last year, and they still played at that level. Now,
yeah, because they take the Dallas's defensive coordinator, isn't he their head coach?
Dan Quinn's your head coach, but I'm talking more like you want a good offensive mind, like offensive coordinator that can get the most out of all the players. And I know that Cliff Kingsbury got a lot of flack for what he did in Arizona. People don't think that he did enough, but he has been, described as one of the great offensive minds time and time again. And he's now their offensive coordinator. So I don't think he gets enough credit. I think people still kind of have the whole Arizona situation in the back of their minds, how he didn't do enough there. but a good offensive coordinator that can really tap into the full potential of their players and know how to get the most out of them and put them in those situations is a vital key to any quarterback's success. And I think that they've got that in Washington. Some coaches, in my opinion, also are just better as coordinators. Like, I don't think that's a negative thing to say. But some guys, in order to get the most out of, their skills, are just better off as coordinators, and I think he's one of those guys.
I just want to, you said Dan Quinn. He reminds me a lot of the coaching style that Dan Campbell runs in Detroit, and I think that can fire up players. And then, you talk about getting these coordinators in there that know the game and they're experts in their field. I think that combination can be very, very beneficial to a team.
The only thing about that is keeping them together. Obviously, everybody knows what happened with Detroit. If you don't know, they lost their OC and their DC. So it's great that they have all this success, but other teams take notice of that as well, and it's just hard to keep those guys together. But when it's working, man, it's fun to watch, and I think they've got something special going on in Washington.
The last thing that I want to talk about, just me personally, on the NFL news that we have, because we're talking about Jaden Daniels, an LSU quarterback, I want to talk about another LSU alum that we said retired, Tyrann Mathieu. I'm going to be honest with you, I started watching college football a little bit a few years ago. Tyrann Mathieu was an absolute dog for LSU. You want to talk about, Joe Burrow brought that community together a lot, but Tyrann Mathieu, in my opinion, is the one that kind of started that. I don't think his career was as great as what people were expecting it to be. I think he had a really good career. It was a joy being able to watch him, especially wearing the purple and gold. So, again, just like last week, if somehow, some way he sees this, good luck on your future endeavors. Thank you for being an absolute beast and at LSU. It sucks, dude, because I had really high hopes for that guy. I really thought that he was going to be just an absolute beast in the NFL, and I just don't think that it played out that way necessarily for him.
Yeah,
this one kind of surprised me a little bit, really.
Yeah, 100%. You see those fake accounts. We were just talking about it with some baseball stuff earlier, but you see those fake trade or retirement announcements, and you're like, yeah, this one's definitely not true. And then the more and more it gets reported, it's like, holy smokes, he really did retire. I was not expecting that. But I do think, going back to what you were talking about, Schneids, about his career, I think obviously he had a lot of backlash whenever he came into the league. He was in some trouble. But I think, given the situation that he put himself in when he came out, I think he made the best of a bad situation, and really kind of turned that all around, which is always good to see. That's what you want to see with guys. He got that opportunity and took full advantage of it. I think he had a good career. It's just everybody was talking about when he was coming out that he was going to be, the next big thing. And he had a run there for a while. He had a few good years where he was, one of the top safeties in the league. But
dude,
I would classify his career as, a pretty solid career in the NFL.
I don't know if you guys got to watch anything of him when he played for LSU, but dude, that guy, I would watch LSU games just to watch him play. Legitimately, that's not just me saying that to make it sound good. We would go to friend's house, and a friend of mine, his wife, is also an LSU fan, and we would go over there, and I would intentionally watch the game just to watch him play. And I can say this very confidently, there's not too many NFL players that make me want to turn on a game. I can effectively tell you that when Tyrann Mathieu got drafted, I would turn on those games to watch him play. I really badly wanted to see him succeed, like at the fullest extent.
He's 33 years old and does have a Super Bowl. Probably not a Hall of Famer.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Before we move on to our position previews section of the show, I do want to touch a little bit on Phillip Rivers retiring. He hasn't played for, it's been what, 3 years, 4 years, something like that. And he finally announces his retirement.
Yeah, so I mean, you were talking about Hall of Fame for Matthew, and I think he has a very interesting case. Obviously, in my opinion, he's got a way stronger case. But, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a Chargers fan, so I didn't follow him. I know that you did, Nate, being a Chargers fan, but that dude, he was not afraid to go after some of them defensive linemen. He was a trash talker. I mean, he had kind of that swag about him that I didn't know. But, you know, I watched some clips when he was kind of doing like a highlight reel. And I just remember the one time he threw a touchdown against Jacksonville, and he walked right up to the defensive lineman who was telling him, you know, good job, 17. And he's just walking right by him screaming, let's go, let's go. That's how we do it. And I'm just like, I never knew that he had this side to him, which was kind of cool to see. But just a stand-up guy.
Yeah, I think it's funny because if you listen to his trash talk clips, like, everybody knows most guys, like, they're going to curse. This guy never curses. Never. He'll be like, gosh darn it, and all this kind of stuff.
Dude, that was my favorite, is when, like, they would do, like, the clips where they would show him, like, on the sideline after throwing maybe an interception or, you know, going 3 and out or whatever, and he's like, gosh darn it. And I'm like, this is a grown man, right? Like, he's acting like a 12-year-old.
He might be the only player from that era. Like, I don't know this for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's the only one that wasn't throwing out F-bombs. And I think I would probably put him in the Hall of Fame if it was, you know, the requirement was just being a good dude and playing football and playing the game the right way. But as far as a career, I don't think he won enough in the playoffs. It never got a Super Bowl. And I think that'll hold him out of the Hall of Fame. But the way he played the game is what made me a fan of him. He reminds me a lot of like a Kobe Bryant, where he finished a game one time on a torn ACL. Like, he was chucking it, and he'll tell you, like, he gave it his best no matter what. Like, if a guy was down the field, he was going to chuck it. It's either a touchdown or an interception. And his stats will show that, but he wasn't going to quit.
Yeah, I mean, 63,000 yards, 421 touchdowns, 209 interceptions, 8 Pro Bowls, I believe, is what he had. I think he's got a strong case. But again, like you said, I think it's the lack of winning that's really going to keep him out. I mean, think about how many times that the Chargers they would look really, really good going into the playoffs, and then they'd show up and you'd be like, man, who is this team? Or like they would be like 3-7 going into the last, you know, little bit of the season. Then somehow they squeak into the playoffs, but then they get blown out. Like, I just don't think he's got enough quality playoff wins under his belt to really put him in that conversation. Obviously, he's got the yardage. He played for a long time. But I think like the lack of not having an MVP also, I think if he had an MVP, he might be able to squeak in, but I don't know. He's one of those guys that are right on the cusp.
Last thought on that. I think a lot of what held the Chargers back in that time period and Rivers back in that time period is that he played in a league with two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, and they both played in the AFC. Like, that holds somebody back for sure as far as getting further in the playoffs, winning Super Bowls. He was just not on the same level as them. He was a tick under. And I think it's, you know, crossover to sports. it's similar with like the Chiefs now. Like it's hard to beat the Chiefs or the Eagles. Like they're the two best teams. Like it's going to be hard in a league with Mahomes. Same thing for baseball right now. Like it's hard to win right now because the Dodgers have such a stranglehold on it. And I think that's kind of what Philip dealt with when he was with the Chargers. Like they just couldn't get over the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers, and all those quarterbacks from that era. And I think that's what keeps him out of the Hall of Fame.
How dare you?
I think it's crazy you called him Philip.
You forgot one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game in that era.
Oh, Jesus.
And you didn't even mention him.
Here we go.
I don't know who you might be talking about.
Wow. I thought we were friends. Brett Favre, bro?
Are we talking about Favre?
Yeah.
Green Bay Packer, Brett Favre?
Yes. Oh, come on, dude.
I thought you were a Vikings fan.
He had one of his best years with the Vikings, first of all. Like, career
He also
years.
retired twice just for more money.
Well,
a Vikings fan
great guy.
loves Green Bay Brett Favre, huh?
I mean, Brett Favre is who got me into watching football as a kid, so he'll always, no matter who he plays for, he will always have a soft spot, in my opinion.
Right.
Whether it is
you heard it here first.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, ladies and gentlemen that watch the Washed Up podcast, we are going to try and start something every week leading up to the season, and that is doing position reviews. We'll do running backs, wide receivers, and stuff like that. This week, we're doing quarterbacks. Derek, I want you to lead this little go around here. I think the first one we have on the list is the Browns quarterback situation.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously there's a lot to that, and we should probably come back to that one, just because that's going to be a little bit more in-depth. But, Nate, I know you kind of talked about Drake May. He was kind of a guy that you were watching, and you think, and I agree, that New England has made substantial improvements. Do you think the new coaching staff's going to, help or hurt him?
I think between the coaching staff, another year of being an NFL quarterback, the guys they drafted to shore up the offensive and defensive line, more weapons on offense, I think he could have, in a way, a breakout year. I've seen a lot of division predictions, which we'll get into eventually, but most of the ones I've seen actually have the Patriots in second in their division behind the Bills, ahead of the Jets and Dolphins. So I think if that's going to happen, you'll have to see some maturation of Drake May to move that forward.
Well, I think, with the guys he's got around him, as long as he can fit into that, just kind of fit into with Vrabel and them, if he can fit into that system, I think he's going to be all right. I like Vrabel as a coach. He's a very defensive-minded guy. But I know he's put some good pieces around him as far as coordinators and stuff in New England. Another guy that I'd like to touch on is Justin Fields. Again, high praise for a former division rival. Used to be a Chicago Bear, but he signs with the Jets in the offseason. He's one that I'm kind of interested in watching. I think Pittsburgh should have stuck with him, in my opinion, just to see kind of where he or how he matured. I really am rooting for him. I think he's kind of been given the short end of the stick over the last, well, really this whole entire career. Chicago kind of is absolutely terrible at developing quarterbacks. And then kind of the situation with Pittsburgh. I'm kind of excited to see what he does. And I'm kind of looking forward to, he's now with Garrett Wilson. And they've kind of revamped that entire coaching staff. So I hope they embrace him and kind of can give him what I think he deserves. And I think he can be, one of the top quarterbacks in this league, top half of the quarterbacks in this league.
I can't believe that he didn't. I've never had an issue with Justin Fields, and I thought that I really thought that being on the Bears is what has hindered a lot of his career. I also thought that when he was with the Steelers, I know that he originally was the starter through the first couple games or so. I thought they kind of held him back too. I was actually shocked the Steelers. I was with you, Derek, on that. But I was really thought that the Steelers should have brought him back instead of going with an 87-year-old Aaron Rodgers. I hope that he does well. because I think he's a good kid. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he has the skill too. It's just gonna suck because he plays for the Jets.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, who's worse at messing up quarterbacks, are the Bears or the Jets?
Man, I don't know.
The Bears, dude, are awful.
I mean, who's the last good Bears quarterback that you can really remember? Jay Cutler, and I wouldn't even really consider him like a great quarterback. I mean, he was a very middle of the line guy.
But the Jets, like, they have their quarterbacks play 4 snaps and then they tear their ACL.
It wasn't. Well, yeah, I guess was it on 3rd down?
Yeah, he played 4 snaps.
Yeah.
But to be fair, though, like, who was the last Jets quarterback that you saw that was like?
Really, the only
Mark
one
Sanchez?
that I can think. Yeah, he's the only one I can think of.
Mr. Butt Fumble?
Memory.
Ed Pennington had a run there way back, like in the early 2000s.
Sanchez took him to the playoffs, buddy.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I'm trying to think of some other notable guys.
Both teams that were scared of quarterbacks going there, and they just haven't produced a quarterback in a century.
No disrespect
now,
no disrespect to Jets fans, but like your 2 most notable quarterbacks from the last couple decades is Chad Pennington and Mark Sanchez. Like, that's not a good look.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
I'm gonna be honest.
Hell yeah.
Now, I kind of agree with Derek, though. I do hope he plays well. I like Fields. I like his skill set. Like, I think it would be really awesome to see him succeed, and reunited with his old college teammate Garrett Wilson. So I think that could be a good scenario for him to be in. Maybe it gets him in a groove. Next, we're gonna talk about my boy Justin Herbert.
Oh boy.
I think. Okay, let me put it this way. I like Jim Harbaugh, and I like the fact that I think we will win more games. But I think when you play a Jim Harbaugh style offense, having a quarterback like Herbert, it doesn't really gel. Like, Herbert's a gunslinger. He's a very accurate passer. He doesn't throw picks. Like, and Jim Harbaugh is going to want to just run the piss out of the ball, which is fine. I think we'll win games that way. I think in a way, though, it kind of wastes his skill set. He's just not going to throw the ball as many times as other quarterbacks around the league are going to throw the ball. So that's why, in my opinion, you don't see him put up huge numbers, especially since Harbaugh showed up.
I mean, we didn't even discuss this, and you basically took exactly what I had down on my notes. Like, I love Harbaugh. I think he's great for you guys. But as far as what he can do for Justin Herbert, I really think that he limits the potential. He leaves a lot on the table because he doesn't open it up and let Herbert, like you said, be a gunslinger. And I wish they would incorporate a little bit more into their offense with that. But, Harbaugh is a very ground and pound type of coach. And I think that kind of hurts Herbert because it doesn't allow him to, do what he does best, in my opinion. That's why I was kind of excited there for a while. There was rumors that they were going to possibly trade him, which I don't see how that would have ever happened. But there were people throwing that idea around, and one of the places they were talking about was Minnesota. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'd have loved to have him in Minnesota. But no, I don't think that would have happened. But I can see where people would say, like, you can get a lot in return for him. And a quarterback in Harbaugh's system really doesn't have to do much. I know we're going to talk about him later, but that's kind of what cautions me with J.J. McCarthy. I think you can kind of plug in a very middle-of-the-line quarterback in that system, and it makes them look like one of the top quarterbacks in the league, whatever it may be, whether that's college or the NFL.
I'm going to agree with you guys on the Harbaugh being part of an issue with why his performance isn't quite up there. But I'm also going to take a stand on this, this is the phrase that I've chosen to use. It's time to shit or get off the pot, really, for Justin Herbert. Like, this dude has been talked about for 3 or 4 years about how he was going to be this stud. He was finally going to lead the Chargers to the promised land. He was going to do all these things. And even before Jim Harbaugh went there, he wasn't doing those things. And it drives me nuts listening to sports talk radio or clips on TikTok or seeing things on YouTube or whatever the case may be about how these guys are supposed to perform. And like Allen with Buffalo, like they keep talking about how, he's gonna, this is his year, he's gonna do it, the Bills have enough, and then they don't. Like, you're either gonna do it or you're not, right? And like I said, I agree with you that Harbaugh hurts his chances, but at the same time, when given those chances to make things happen, Justin Herbert has to do that. If I'm being honest with you, I might give him this year to maybe hopefully prove me wrong, because I'm also with you guys. Like, I like Justin Herbert, but if he doesn't perform this year, if they can't make like a decent run, to me it's gonna be another Phillip Rivers 2.0 in on the Chargers roster.
Last thing I kind of want to talk on with this is my final thoughts on that whole situation. Something that I think you have to really keep in mind when you talk about Justin Herbert is the division that he plays in. He's playing in the same division as Patrick Mahomes. He plays him twice a year. And I don't like to be like this, but if I'm being real with you, the odds of the Chargers getting a high seed in the playoffs and winning their division is slim because of who is in the division. And now that division just got a whole lot better in the offseason this year. Definitely one of the divisions I'm going to be watching a little bit more. But I think you also have to take that into account when you're playing against a Patrick Mahomes twice a year, whereas Josh Allen, might only have to play against him once a year, and that's in the playoffs. So I kind of agree with you on the Justin Herbert, but I think that's a very important piece that needs to be brought up as well.
But how many times are we like? This is the part about, especially with quarterbacks, right? I think this is the one position in all of sports that conversations like this happen. My problem is, right, how many years do quarterbacks get to be given excuses as to why their performance is not there, right?
Okay,
let me ask you this.
That's my thing.
Hold on though. Why is that not the mantra for Fields? We made all the excuses for Fields.
Fields didn't come out of college like Justin Herbert did.
What?
Justin Herbert was heralded as a better quarterback than Justin Fields. Out of college.
I don't know about that, buddy.
What?
They were talking big about Fields. Fields was a top 5 pick?
Brother, there's no, like, Justin Herbert was like, it was like Jesus was reborn again with the Chargers when they drafted Herbert.
I mean, I think he's been a very good quarterback.
And also, Herbert hasn't played on the fucking Bears and the Jets.
He had one of the worst coaches, I think, in NFL history in Brandon Staley. I think Brandon Staley single-handedly screwed him out of the playoffs at least 2 or 3 times. He made some stupid decisions in a game against the Raiders where a tie could put him in the playoffs, and they lost the game.
Another thing that I will say.
So now we're talking about another head coach that's going to hold him back. That's what I'm saying. Like, when do the excuses stop?
Okay, if you're going to make them for Fields, there's no reason not to make 1 or 2 for Herbert.
Herbert didn't play for the Bears. You're going to tell me that their situations were the same?
I'm not saying they're the same.
Well, then that's why Fields gets the excuses.
But there are things hindering Herbert's career also.
I agree with that. I said that I think Harbaugh does hold him back. But at the same time, when you're heralded as Justin Herbert was, it is time to perform. Or me as a person who does watch football, it's just not going to depend on that guy to be the quarterback that team needs.
Here's my thing too.
That's where I'm at.
I'll just leave it at that.
Here's my thing. The only other thing I'll talk about here is the fact that his rookie year was one of the best rookie years that any quarterback has had. So I hope that guy's still in there somewhere, and I believe that he is. But I don't know about the claim that he was the second coming out of the draft. I mean, he came into the same in the league at the same time as Joe Burrow. I mean, he was obviously the number one guy coming out of that draft.
No,
but
I guess I should clarify that comment. When the Chargers drafted him, right? Not him in the draft. When he was drafted to the Chargers, they acted like he was the second. He was supposed to be Phillip Rivers and then some. They had thought, like, they were like, we got our guy. This is who we want to lead us to the promised land. We finally got him, right? And I'm not saying the dude's not a football. Like, I'm not saying he's not good. But when we talk about the NFL and we talk about team success, a lot of that blame falls on the quarterback. So to me, a lot of that blame will fall on Justin Herbert as his career progresses. To me, it is time to perform, to lead your team to the playoffs, than to just have another okay year and then we blame the coach for it.
Well, I am kind of on the same page as you, Nate. I think Staley kind of did him dirty. I don't think Staley was a great coach. But I will throw it back to you for our next guy, if you want to talk about him for a little bit.
Geno Smith, switching teams, going to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh my.
I don't think he moves the needle that much for the Raiders, personally. I don't know how you feel, Derek, but I just wanted to put him on here as kind of a team switching notable quarterback to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, like you said, he doesn't move the needle a whole lot. He's kind of the definition of a bridge guy. But it is cool. It's a feel-good story. He gets reunited with Pete Carroll in Vegas. And Pete Carroll is kind of the guy that got the most out of him when he took all the flack for getting rid of Russell Wilson. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do. Like I said, that's going to be a tough division to really be competitive in. But I mean, wish him nothing but the best. He's made the best of a bad situation again. Like he wasn't given the greatest of chances. I mean, he was another one of them Jets quarterbacks that was kind of thrown to the wolves. So it's kind of cool to see him kind of resurrect his career. And I hope that he can keep doing that with Pete Carroll in Vegas.
I agree with both of you guys on that one.
Do we want to talk about the Giants quarterback situation?
Yeah. I have the three quarterbacks on their roster, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Jackson Dart, who they traded up to get in the draft. I really don't know what to think about this. They have, most depth charts have Russell Wilson as the starter. I guess we don't know if we've seen the end of Russell Wilson yet.
I think he should be the starter. I think Jackson Dart probably could use a year to kind of to learn. Jameis Winston would make a fine backup quarterback. But yeah, I think Russell Wilson should be the starter for the New York Giants to begin the season. Now, if something changes where I don't know, either he doesn't perform or they see something in Jackson Dart, or to me, I wouldn't play Jackson Dart at all this season. But if something does change, I wouldn't surprise me at all about making a move. But Russell Wilson being their number one doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, and I mean, it pains me to say this because, I remember back to Russell Wilson in his Seattle days where he was a nobody, and then he kind of blew up and led them to Super Bowls and stuff like that. But I think this is kind of his last stint. Unfortunately, I don't think that he makes it past the midseason mark in the season. Based on how highly Daboll talked about Jackson Dart and where they took him in the draft. Plus, in my opinion, Daboll and his administration there are kind of like on their last, they're kind of all on the hot seat. So they're going to try this as a last-ditch effort to get him in there. So I don't see in any way that, Russell Wilson makes it past the midpoint of the season. I could be wrong, but, Daboll's going to be trying to prove that pick was the right one. And that's why I kind of think that Dart will be the starter by the midpoint of the season, in my opinion.
They're still not good, though, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it's Wilson or Dart. Like,
yeah, no, they're still not
anywhere near a playoff team.
No, I would tell you that I would tell you that they would finish last in my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, what hurts them is they're in a very good division too. But I think they're going to surprise a lot of people, if I'm being completely honest. They've done a good job of kind of building around, they've got their number one receiver. They bolstered the defensive line. They got some pass rushers. I just think they play in a really tough division. I don't see them making the playoffs because of that. But I do think that there's some games that they're going to surprise people this year, in my opinion, especially if Jackson Dart plays the way that they're talking that he is in camp.
Well, that takes us over to Indianapolis, where AR5, Anthony Richardson, now has some competition with Daniel Jones. Richardson is notorious for getting tired and just walking off the field, and Jones had some injury issues, signed a huge contract with the Giants. They thought he was the franchise guy. Turned out he was not. I think it's going to be interesting to see who they roll with in Indianapolis and how many games each of them might even play. I mean, it could be a situation where one gets benched and the other one takes over.
I want to start this one because as a competitor, kind of got my blood boiling a little bit with Anthony Richardson. Thank God I am not in charge of a NFL team, because Anthony Richardson would never play another down for my team walking off the field saying that you're tired. So if it was up to me, Daniel Jones is my starting quarterback.
This might come back and bite me later on in the season, but I'm rolling with Jones too. I wasn't a huge Anthony Richardson fan coming out of Florida, and that's crazy because one of my main teams is the Gators, but I was not too high on him coming out of the draft, and he was kind of inaccurate, reckless with the ball, which can sometimes work out in the NFL with guys. They're just going to throw a lot of picks, but I've just not been impressed, and I think Daniel Jones is another one of those guys that wasn't given a great opportunity, but I think...
Don't you go blaming the coach now.
I know, but I do think that if it were me, just to possibly get the best out of Anthony Richardson going forward, kind of opening his eyes that, hey, this isn't your job. You're not solidified as the number one. And I say give Daniel Jones a shot. I don't know. That's just kind of my hot take. Like I said, I might come back and bite me, but I think that he should at least be given the opportunity to play in Indy.
Does Daniel Jones make them a playoff team? They play in a pretty weak division, all told.
But man, the AFC is just so tough.
I don't know if Daniel Jones is what's going to move them in that direction. As a Cowboys fan, watching Daniel Jones play a couple times a year, I wasn't necessarily impressed. My whole decision making is, I guess I don't know if people know, if they've really thought about that, right? The whole him saying that he's tired and walking off the field in the middle of a game. You have offensive linemen in the trenches battling for you to keep you upright, right? So you can make plays. You're talking grown men, 300 pounds plus, headbutting each other for an entire game, and you're the one that's tired. I don't know if Daniel Jones makes him a playoff team, but I'm playing Daniel Jones. Anthony Richardson would never play it down for me.
The other thing you have to think about is that division. So Houston obviously has been the number one, and I think they continue to be. But I'm telling you right now, one of my sleeper teams that I am very excited to see is Jacksonville. I think with the head coaching hire, I think that they got progressively better this offseason. And then obviously we don't really know with Tennessee because of them taking a quarterback in the first round, rookie guy. Don't really know what's going to happen with that. I just don't think they did enough in the offseason to make them able to win that division. And in the AFC, I think you have to win your division in order to get a playoff spot, just because it's such a strong, conference. And I don't think they did enough, because I can name probably 2 teams in their division that are better than them as of right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that'll take us to Cam Ward.
I was going to say, there we go. We got a segment into Cam Ward. So obviously we got the Titans taking Cam Ward, number 1 overall. If I'm being honest, I wasn't too high on Cam Ward coming out of Miami, but and to be honest, that situation, I don't know how great it is, just because they don't have a whole lot of pieces around him. So it kind of feels like one of those situations where he's being thrown to the wolves and kind of expecting to fix everything, and I just don't know if that's going to happen. Obviously, you're rooting for the kid. You want him to be the best player that he can be. But I just don't know if Tennessee is the best environment for a young quarterback to go into right now.
Yeah, Washington State transfer, right, to Miami. I agree with you, Derek. I think Tennessee's kind of a dumpster fire right now. I don't think, no matter what he does, I don't think it's really going to do anything for the Titans. There's not enough stuff around him. Not enough weapons, offensive line, defensive. Like, it's bad. I sure hope they don't ruin his career.
I don't know a whole lot about Cam Ward. I didn't really pay attention to him in college. I don't know what the predictions are for him with Tennessee, but I do agree he's kind of thrown to the wolves. I hope, like Nate said, I hope it doesn't ruin his career moving forward, but I'm wishing him all the best. I hope he balls out for Tennessee.
My only thing, too, to think about kind of when we're talking about this situation, the kid's got an arm. I'll give it to him. He's got a very strong arm. But if they don't win games immediately, I don't foresee that coaching staff staying in place. And, when you start rotating entire coaching staffs, it's never good on a young quarterback. Young quarterbacks need that stability. And like you said, I really hope it just doesn't ruin his opportunity before it even really gets started, because of how much of a dumpster fire Tennessee is right now.
All right, well, that'll take us to my head coach, Jim Harbaugh's boy, the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, Mr. McCarthy.
Oh, yeah, Mr. McCarthy. As a Minnesota Vikings fan, I am trying not to buy into the hype. Obviously, I have heard really, really good things coming out of, OTAs and the offseason workouts. They were saying that McCarthy had thrown the most touchdowns throughout the league in OTAs and 7-on-7s. They said he looked really crisp. If I'm being honest, maybe it's just me being safe on the safe side and not trying to get too hyped up on him. I think that he is better than Sam Darnold, and I'm kind of cautioned to say that because now people are going to think we're expected to win 14 games. I don't think that's going to happen this year. But I'm telling you what, as a young quarterback, name a better situation than what he's going into. You've got Justin Jefferson, who is arguably one of the best receivers in the game, if not the best receiver. Jordan Addison, one of the best wide receiver twos in the league. TJ Hawkinson as your tight end. They rebolstered that entire offensive line, and you're playing with Kevin O'Connell, who is, like, in my opinion, an offensive mastermind. He's a quarterback whisperer. Look what he's done with Josh Dobbs 2 years ago when he had to come in and play a few games.
Or
Sam Darnold last year. Like, I'm trying not to get excited and get, put too much on the kid because it is going to be his first time starting and he's coming off an injury. But it does have me optimistic, I'll say that.
I think that you should be excited. If I was a fan of the Vikings, or if the Cowboys were in a very similar situation, I would be excited. Now, I don't want to say like over the moon and putting unreal expectations, but I would be excited. I think he's going to have I really want to say a monster year. I'm kind of trying to hold back a little bit. I think he's going to have an absolute great year from the moment that they signed him or until when they drafted him. I thought he was going to be a stud. So I think the Vikings are in probably one of the best possible spots outside of, the Eagles and Chiefs. If I was you, Derek, I would be very excited as to the outlook on my team going into the season.
All right. Well, that'll take us to the situation in New Orleans. Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler. And from what I've seen, it looks as though the Saints are going with Rattler as their starter.
Yeah, I think that's another interesting one. Rattler, to me, is kind of a niche guy, and I don't know I still don't know how he's going to fit in the NFL. Obviously, he's not been in the NFL for very long. But I don't really... I've seen a lot of stuff on Shuck coming out of, obviously, with the draft and everything, and I think he's got potential, and in my opinion, he's got more potential than Rattler does. But it'll be kind of interesting to see what they do with that situation down in New Orleans, especially with Derek Carr retiring and that being such a sudden thing. I hope that doesn't derail them too much. I'm kind of looking forward to see what Kellen Moore does as a head coach. So I think he's finally getting his opportunity. I think he should have got an opportunity a long time ago. But I'm kind of excited to see what they do. I don't think they're going to be great just because of the quarterback play this year. But I really hope that they can build something down there in New Orleans.
Then we will go to Atlanta, where Michael Penix Jr. took over for Kirk Cousins last year. I'm anxious to see if Penix is going to get the full year, or maybe, who knows, 4, 5, 6 games in the season. If Penix is struggling, you might see Kirk Cousins come back.
I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to play over Michael Penix. I think they're going to try to do everything they can to maybe trade him during the season to somebody that needs a quarterback. But I don't think that this moves the needle for the Falcons in my book.
Yeah, and I think if they're willing to eat as much money as they were willing to eat last year, and throughout this whole contract of him sitting and not playing him, I don't see how he does. I know it hurts because I like Cousins, and I think that he was kind of done dirty in my opinion. But yeah, I don't see him starting again for the Falcons unless Penix has a very drastic downward trajectory or gets hurt. So
our next quarterback on our list is Sam Darnold, Derek's former Minnesota Viking, who is now in Seattle.
Yeah. Obviously love it for him. He got a deal. I think as much as I love Sam Darnold, and I was one of the first advocates that said that I think he's going to have a monster year with Minnesota, I think we made the right move on letting him go. But I'm excited to see what he does in Seattle. I don't think he's going to be as proficient as he was in Minnesota, just because he's not going to have quite the amount of weapons and the stability around him. But I do think that they're building something special in Seattle. So best of luck to him. Appreciate what he did for the Vikings last year, and I'm rooting for him this year.
Yeah, I think he'll regress being with the Seahawks. It was finally good to see him in a good situation and be able to perform. I know, he bounced around, and I know that wasn't he with the Jets and then Carolina and then Vikings? Wasn't that what it was?
With the 49ers as well.
49ers?
Yeah.
You're with the Jets, you're with Carolina, you're talking about 2 dumpster fires. So seeing him in a good position to play very well was awesome to see. And like Derek said, I hope he keeps some of it rolling and has a good year in Seattle. I just don't think it's going to be as good as last year.
Okay, and then Mr. Aaron Rodgers.
How do we feel about this?
I'm going to start it because I listened to the local sports radio, and they talked about Aaron Rodgers ad nauseum for weeks about the whole if he's going to sign with the Steelers, if he's not going to sign with the Steelers, if he's going to go here, if he's going to be done, if he's going to do this. Look, the Steelers, in my opinion, we said it earlier, messed up by not re-signing Justin Fields and letting him be your quarterback moving forward until you found one in the draft. A 40-year-old, 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers is not going to be the difference maker. I feel like you're wasting a season of TJ Watt. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be good. I would even go as far as saying that it could be Mike Tomlin's first losing season. I don't think it's going to go well. Aaron Rodgers drives me up a wall to try and stick out, to try and be different than everybody else because he wants limelight. He wants people to talk about him, and I think it's crazy. If it was up to me, I wouldn't talk about him until he signed. But yeah, I don't think it's going to go well. I think it's going to be a train wreck. And I'll just say it now. Sorry, TJ Watt.
Here's my other thing on that too, and this is maybe another hot take, but in my opinion, I think we see Will Howard this year at some point. They're the quarterback they just drafted in this last year's draft. I think there's a chance during this year that we see him in and Aaron Rodgers benched.
Is it Mason Rudolph the backup?
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be their starter until they went out and got Rodgers, but from what I'm hearing, they really, really like this Will Howard kid. And I mean, he won a national championship last year, so I'd give him a shot. If things are going bad, I don't want to see Tomlin's winning season streak come to an end, but they are desperate to do something in Pittsburgh. They're another one of them teams that just have not been able to find a quarterback in the draft since Roethlisberger. So it'll be interesting. I think that we could see a quarterback change at some point this year with them.
Okay, let's move on to... Let's skip this next name on the list, fellas, and go to Caleb Williams first.
He better hope that he performs. All the excuses that he had last year, they've done their best to fix those. New head coach, right? If I'm correct, when he one of the Lions coaches,
Lions offensive coordinator.
Yeah, so you have a Lions offensive coordinator, former offensive coordinator. They revamped your O-line. All I can say to Caleb Williams is you better perform, because if you don't, in my opinion, you're already a bust, but you'll definitely be one if you do not perform this season.
I was not high on Caleb Williams either when he was coming out. I think he'll be a good quarterback. I don't think that he's going to be the second coming of Peyton Manning and Patrick Mahomes like he was touted to be. But this again goes to the track record of the Chicago Bears just not knowing how to develop quarterbacks. And so far they have not done well with Caleb Williams. Like you said, they brought in a lot of new pieces. I think their GM has done a great job. But I just hope that Caleb Williams is not going to get a few of them guys fired in the administration if he doesn't work out, because so far it's not looking great for him. But, he was a rookie last year, and I think some stability will do him good. And I think that the new head coach and new staff will hopefully do wonders for him. So
I would say that we watched Ben Johnson get quite a bit out of what we thought was a little bit of a washed up Jared Goff. So similar to what you guys are saying, like, this is the situation in Chicago. I don't think it gets better than what he's going to have this year. All right, let's move on to Mr. Dak Prescott, and then we'll bounce back to the Browns quarterbacks.
Do you want to take the lead on this one?
Oh, yes, please. Yeah. Dak Prescott, the guy that I wish they would have let walk instead of signing to an extension. Look, Dak Prescott, he's a good quarterback, right? Like, I think his projections every year put him in the top, at least top 10, if not top 7 in the league. He's not a playoff quarterback, right? I feel the same way with him as the same thing that I said about Mr. Herbert. It's time to do something, right? Like, we're paying the Cowboys are paying you all this money. You're supposed to be the guy. lead him to the promised land, and it's time to do something. Because if not, I would be okay with them. They won't, but I would be okay with them moving on from him. I just, to pay somebody that kind of money that he's getting and has not shown you any sort of production when it comes to playoffs, in my opinion, is ridiculous. That's why I would have let him walk. Nothing against him. Like I said, he's a good quarterback. He's just, so far, has not proved anything to me that he's the guy that's going to lead us to a Lombardi trophy. So, I mean, I hope he does great. I hope he does lead him to the Lombardi, but I think that they're going to have, they'll have another winning season. They'll be very, very productive, offensive and defensive. Michael Parsons leading the way on the defensive side of the ball for the Cowboys, but my hopes once it comes to playoffs is not high with Dak Prescott.
And the whole handling of the head coaching situation this offseason,
Yes.
What was that? I mean,
A publicity stunt by Jerry Jones.
I like when they announced their head coach, I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is. And they didn't even really talk about any really big name candidates that they were interviewing. They just kind of gave this guy who doesn't really have a track record of really, I don't think he's ever been a head coach.
No.
No.
I mean, I saw that and I remember just seeing that headline come through and I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, Dallas is just, their PR team and like their marketing and Jerry Jones' ability to just always have the spotlight on the Dallas Cowboys just blows me away. But he does that at the sacrifice of team success. And I think he wants a guy in there that's not going to stand up to him. And I don't know, maybe that's why they hired this guy. I don't know what that was, but I feel bad for Dallas fans. But do you want me to move on to the Browns quarterback situation, Nate?
I just have a short thing that I want to say, and I'll let you dive in. I think we're taking the approach of if you get 10 quarterbacks on the roster, surely one of them is good enough to be our starting quarterback. The latest thing I saw on ESPN was that Pickett was going to be the starter, but you have Pickett and Flacco and Watson, who may never play again, who knows. And then they drafted 2 quarterbacks, which I would have to go back and look at it. I should have before the show, but I don't know how many times that's happened in a draft where you draft 2 quarterbacks. One of them being the golden boy, Shedeur Sanders, falling down in the draft.
So, I mean, like I was just going to kind of go over Deshaun Watson obviously gets hurt. What a swing and a miss that has been, which really pains me to say because I was high on Deshaun Watson. I think he did a lot of good things in Houston, but that might go down as the worst contract / trade in the history of the sport. Maybe of all sports, maybe not that far because MLB's had some that are kind of atrocious. But Joe Flacco, like you said, signed a 1-year deal, $4 million in the offseason. He had 5 starts for Cleveland in 2023, went 4-1. I don't foresee him being the starter. If they do, he's just going to be like a stopgap for the younger guys to give them a little bit more time before they're thrown in there. Like you mentioned, Kenny Pickett got traded. I have also seen that he's received a lot of the first team reps. I'd be hard pressed to think that they're going to go with him, but like I said, maybe they're going to give him a few weeks at the beginning of the season until one of these younger guys get in there. Cause I've heard a lot about Dylan Gabriel getting a lot of the first team reps. And Stefanski is pretty excited about what he can do. And they think that he has a path to become, their starter early from what I've seen. And then obviously you got Shedeur Sanders, projected top 5 pick, falls all the way down to pick 144, excuse me. It's reported that he didn't receive a single snap with the first team in the offseason practices. And he's been mainly working with second team from there on out. So like you said, you throw a handful of darts at a board, one of them's going to stick, right? And I don't really know how I feel about this situation. I think Gabriel might be your best bet. I kind of liked him coming out of Oregon. I thought he was one of the sleeper quarterbacks in that draft class. Sanders, I think, is raw he's got a lot of talent, but he's got to kind of fix some things at the next level. His accuracy is great, but I think he's got a little bit more development that needs to be done. And then obviously Joe Flacco is your tried and true. If you need to throw somebody out there for a week or two, he can definitely get it done. Although his time in Indy last year didn't look great. But if he can revert back to that 2023 form, I think he could be great for the Browns. Like I said, at least as a guy to bide a little bit more time for the younger guys.
Do we think that Gabriel or Shedeur is going to end up being trade bait?
No. To be honest with you, if Sanders is going to pass every team in the NFL for 4 or 5 rounds of a draft, I don't think the value is there. Gabriel, I mean, if they actually let him play and he shows some signs, maybe. But I think the minute that one of these quarterbacks seems to grab it by the balls, I think the Browns will be all over them. They'll be the savior.
So here's my question, right? And I hate to say this about a young man's life, in his profession. I may be the only one that feels this way, but I feel like a lot of having the spotlight on Shedeur and I don't want to necessarily say self-claiming because it necessarily wasn't him, but just having the spotlight on him his whole year, Colorado, and them making it such a big deal that he was going to be in the draft, I feel like that's what hurt him, and I feel like I think that's why his dad, Dion, I don't think got a head coaching job either in the NFL. I know that he says that he doesn't want to coach in the NFL because he doesn't want to deal with like the egos and stuff and money and this, that, and the third. But I feel like Shedeur and Dion, when it came to time, when they had the spotlight, it seemed very braggish out in front, and I think that's what hurt him in the draft. I don't think that there's a lot of teams that necessarily want to deal with that. I think Gabriel will end up being the starter for the Browns. I think Joe Flacco will end up being the backup. Pickett will just kind of be there. I don't think Deshaun Watson plays another snap in the NFL. The only reason he's on the team is because they owe him so much money. Shedeur Sanders, if you told me that he eventually became the starter, wouldn't be surprised. If you told me that he got traded, I wouldn't be surprised. I think with you have a quarterback room of 5 quarterbacks, something's got to happen. I think that Gabriel or Sanders, one of them will end up being trade bait.
So I want to kind of pose this question to both of you just because it's something that I've always thought about. So obviously with Sanders, we all know who his dad is. And I give him the benefit of the doubt, but I also kind of think they bring it on themselves. Like, I think a lot of the criticism for him has come from his dad. Like, people don't like his dad, so they throw it automatically on him, which isn't fair to him at all, and I understand that. But then again, this is kind of where I want to throw the question to you guys, and that's kind of an interesting point. Do we think that Shedeur Sanders would have been drafted where he was, or the potential to be drafted in the top 5 if it wasn't for who his dad was? Because when you watch the tape, I mean, he's an athlete. Like, he's a very, middle of the road quarterback, in my opinion. He's athletic. He's got the ability to extend plays. I get that. But I think the pre-draft selection of him going top 5, do we really think that that's because of his ability, or do we think that's because of who his dad is?
I don't think he should have ever been even remotely close to being as a top 5 pick. I viewed him as a 2nd or 3rd round. If we go off ability, right, because you said it's raw, right? It's a lot of raw ability that needs to be honed in, and I agree with that. So when I hear that, to me, that's like, okay, this guy has the potential to be our franchise quarterback for years to come, but there's a lot of work that has to come with that. I don't think that he's a first-round quarterback. I think they hyped themselves up to be a first-round quarterback. Like I said, 2nd or 3rd round for me is where I would have taken him. I don't think falling all the way to 144 is where I would have drafted him at. And that's why I said I think a lot of the reason that fell that way was because of how much they brought that attention to themselves. I think he could be a good quarterback. Like, I'm not trying to say that. I'm not saying that the guy stinks, but very raw, a lot of work, a lot of reps, and I think he could be something. But I don't think a top 5 pick is where he should have been at just off talent alone.
I mean, I watched some of the games. At the end of the day, man, he's in Colorado. It's not the SEC, and we see plenty of SEC quarterbacks get drafted in the first round that never turn out to be anything. Look at Mac Jones. I mean, quarterback position is just very fragile. You could draft a guy that you think he's the one, and you could take him top 5 pick, and it's just there's a lot of variables that go into it, and obviously most NFL franchises thought that either he might become a distraction, or maybe it was because of how raw he was and the amount of time and effort they were going to have to put into him to make him, a serviceable NFL quarterback. But I mean, I agree with Schneids. He's not a top 5 quarterback. He's not a round 5 quarterback either, though. I could have seen him in the 3rd round, maybe 2nd round, into the 2nd round. But yeah, I could see him ended up being a quarterback in the NFL, but I think you're 2-3 years down the road before we see that happen.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of why I posed the question, is because, like, if I take who he is out of it and you just watch him, play, he is a very 2nd or 3rd round pick quarterback, in my opinion. I don't know why he was touted. Well, I do know why he was touted as a top 5 pick, but like, if you take that out of it, he seems like one of those guys that would go in the 2nd or 3rd round. And I don't think he should have fell to the 5th round. That's why I don't blame the Browns for drafting him, because, I mean, you're using your 144th pick on a guy that has the potential that he has.
Right.
I don't blame that whatsoever. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know how they're going to fit all of them on the roster, but they're going to have to cut it somewhere, and it'll be interesting to see what position group they leave thin if they decide to keep 5 of those guys.
Just final thought there. Watson probably will be on some kind of unable to perform list, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to be on the IR. I don't think they're expecting him to play at all this year.
Right, and that's what I saw, but I still don't think, I mean, I don't know where you go. I mean, one of them's got to go. You're not going to run 4 quarterbacks on your roster, I wouldn't think. And if you put one on the practice squad, I could see another team picking him up. So to me, it's Flacco or Pickett probably gets cut, in my opinion. But that, I think, will wrap up our position preview for our quarterback position. We have a small bit here of hockey news for our Blues, and then we'll have a little section at the end that I think will be a lot of fun. Former Blues goalie Yaroslav Halak retired after 17 seasons. He spent 4 seasons with the Blues, the 10-11 season through the 13-14 season. In the 11-12 season, he actually won the Jennings Trophy that he shared with Brian Elliott, which is it goes to the goalies with the fewest goals against as a team. And those were the 2 goalies that the Blues used most of that year. I'm going to kick it over to Schneids for some contracts that the Blues picked up and some other transactions.
Okay, I want to preference this first by saying do not roast me for how I pronounce these names, because I don't know if you guys pay attention to hockey or not, but some of them are a little crazy. So the Blues this offseason have signed forward Pius Suter, right?
Yep.
To a $8.25 million deal. That's $4.125 million annually. They also signed another forward, Nick Bukestad, 2 years, $3.5 million, $1.75 million annually. They also re-signed goaltender Joel Hofer to a 2-year, $6.8 million deal, $3.4 million annually. I really like the I like all the signings, to be honest. I really like bringing Joel Hofer back, having a second goaltender that is as productive as Joel Hofer is awesome. I'm going to address this one. I know Derek has some. Actually, you know what, Derek? If you want to talk about this one, because I know you have maybe a little tidbit. I know the plan is to talk about this later down the road, but if you want to talk about the trade that happened.
Yeah. So this one kind of pains me. I understand why they did it, but we traded our 22-year-old right winger Zachary Bolduc to the Montreal Canadiens, and we received 22-year-old defenseman Logan Mailloux. Bolduc was drafted by the Blues, number 17 overall in the 2021 NHL draft. Just without getting too deep into it, the Blues need defensemen. We have a lot of wingers that are young talent, so I understand why they do it. Bolduc was extremely productive last year, so I hate to see him go. And obviously, with him being drafted by us in 21, you'd like to keep those guys around. But I'm kind of excited to see what it does for the team to get another young defenseman that is highly touted as Mailloux is. So just want to run through that one, just so we can make sure we cover everything so far in the offseason.
Also, the last two things that I have, this now leaves the Blues with 5 centers on the roster. I know a lot of their issue last year was, I know at the beginning of the year, was trying to find guys to play center. So now they have 5 of them. Looks like they're in a good spot. Also, I would love to tell you where the YouTube channel was that I saw, but there was an interview with Doug Armstrong talking about the signings and the offseason. Doug Armstrong is the GM of the Blues. For right now, aren't they getting ready to pass that over to, oh my God, I can't think of his name. Who's taking over for Doug Armstrong, Derek?
Oh, I'm not sure about that. I haven't heard anything about it.
They hired, it's a former player. He's supposed to be in waiting for whenever Doug leaves. Anyway, that doesn't necessarily matter, but Doug Armstrong basically said that the roster is pretty much set. So basically saying that they're, for the most part...
Alexander Steen.
Yes, thank you, Steen. I thought that was supposed to be this year. Topic for another time, but yeah, Doug Armstrong basically says that the roster's pretty much set with the signings that they've had, the re-signing of Hofer, the trade that they made. Also, I'll just say it real quick to end the hockey thing. Bolduc, I appreciate all the things that you did for St. Louis, help building a winning culture here, and I wish you all the best in Montreal and on your further endeavors in your career going forward.
Yeah, and another cool just tidbit on Bolduc here. He actually grew up a Montreal Canadian fan, so it's kind of cool to see him go play for the team that he grew up being a fan of. So
that's what we all dream about.
Yep, best of luck to him. Appreciate everything he did last year, and I think he's got a very bright future ahead of him.
All right, fellas. I've been licking my chops for this one.
Oh, boy, here we go.
I've been scouring the internet for some good trivia questions for the two of you. So we'll see if either one of you, whether you're washed up or whether you know ball. Derek, who are the last 4 Vikings players with 1,000 yards receiving this season?
Oh boy,
no repeats.
Okay, obviously you got JJ.
Yep.
Sidney Rice.
Oh, that's the one I thought you would get.
Dude, that's my boy. He was in there with Favre. Come on now.
Oh, Favre.
Did Percy Harvin do it?
Nope, he's not on the list.
No. Greg Jennings? How far back are we going here?
It's just the last 4.
The last 4.
I'll tell you this for a hint. You got the bookends of the 4. You got the first and the last. So the other 2 guys are between them. I'm shocked.
Yeah, if he doesn't get these, I would like to make a guess.
Okay. Well, I'll let him decide when he's ready to give it up here.
When he's ready to decide he's washed up.
I feel like, yeah, dude, man, I feel bad right now. Like,
Derek, you're gonna be.
I'm gonna
so
be
mad.
so mad, but I hate being put on the spot like this. Man,
Who are like the best receivers they've had in the last 10 years? Because Rice was probably about 10 years ago.
yeah, I mean, he would have been in that 2010 team, so probably longer than that. Brother, I don't know.
Oh God! All right, Schneids, give me one guess.
Well, my guess I don't think meets the criteria for the last 10 years. I was going to say Randy Moss.
No, it doesn't go back that far. All right, Derek. He wore number 14.
Give me a hint. Oh my God, really? Stephon Diggs, obviously. Wow.
Yep. There's one other guy he played with Diggs. They were a really good duo. Slot guy.
Wow.
Number 19.
Okay.
Oh.
Can we just cut this out? Like, he might be one of my favorite players ever, and I did not get him.
You're eating this
Oh
one, buddy.
my God. AT, bro. Wow. I am sorry,
All
Adam
right.
Thielen. Like, I am a huge fan, and I don't know how that I missed you there. Like, what a disgrace.
I really thought the only one you wouldn't get was Rice.
No, Sidney Rice was Brett Favre's go-to guy. Never,
Okay.
I got his jersey hanging in my closet, actually.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should have a Diggs and Thielen jersey.
I do have a Thielen. That's the
Man,
bad
he calls
part.
himself a Thielen fan and doesn't even remember. That's crazy.
Dude, that's bad.
All right, Schneids.
Oh, boy.
This one we're gonna go back a little bit, okay?
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah. Don't do anything in recent memory.
But this is an important. This is a very good. I think you'll enjoy this.
Oh.
2011 Game 6 of the World Series.
Okay.
Very notable World Series game in the history of World Series, right?
Correct.
Can you name me the players in the starting nine?
Oh, my Lord. Probably not. No.
Give me some guesses.
So we'll go with the easy ones. Starting pitcher too, or do you just want...
I don't think you're gonna get the starting pitcher.
Okay.
But we'll talk about it.
So catcher Molina. First base
Yep.
was Pujols.
Yep.
Third base David Freese.
Yep.
Lance Berkman.
Yep.
Carlos Beltran.
No Beltran.
What?
Let me help you out here. Berkman played right, and most of the time when Beltran was with the Cardinals, he played right. So Berkman was in right. So you need
But
left field,
they
center
were-
field.
were they in Texas though?
There was no DH in this game. Game 6 was in
Maybe
St. Louis.
it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't St. Louis because Freese hit the walk off into that grassy patch there.
Yep.
Oh man.
So you need left field,
Center field. John Jay.
short, and second. John Jay was actually a pinch hitter in the game.
Who would have played center?
I'll give you a hint. He won Manager of the Year.
Oh, Skip.
Yep. Skip was your center fielder.
Wow. Okay.
So you need shortstop, left field, and second base.
So who would have been? See, and this is the problem, right? If you've been a Cardinals fan for a while, like you know that they don't have duos up the middle, second and short for very long. So trying to remember,
These two guys did not play with the Cardinals long at all.
was one of them Descalso?
No, I think this was right before Descalso.
Okay. Oh, Pete Cosma?
Nope. Okay, so
Hold on,
shortstop-
I think I got shortstop.
Who is it?
Was it Eckstein?
No.
No.
Eckstein was before that. He was in the 06
Yeah,
World
he was
Series.
06.
Oh, okay.
So the shortstop actually played for my Braves at one time.
Oh, for call. I'm so dumb.
Call.
I forgot.
I'm
Second base.
kind of second base was a Minnesota Twin. I think he played maybe a year or two with the Cardinals. He played second base and third base mostly when he was there. Right-handed hitter.
I don't remember second base.
Nick Punto.
Ooh.
Now, left field, you should get this one.
Holiday.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, any guesses for the starting pitcher?
Oh, in 2011. So I believe that was the year Wainwright was hurt. And
let me give you. Carpenter pitched Game 7.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Carpenter, I think, pitched Game 7. Ooh, was it Jaime?
Oh my God, it was Jaime.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Like, as a Cardinal fan for a really long time, Jaime's not one of the people that is on the list of guys Cardinal fans will remember. But I love watching Jaime Garcia. Like, Chris Carpenter's my favorite. That's my dude if I had to pick one. But Jaime Garcia was a straight G, dude. I loved watching Jaime pitch. Just like Jeff Suppan, I love watching him pitch too. Wow, that makes me. I would have never guessed the second baseman. I would have never known that one. But
yeah, he was only there for a year or two. The other people of note that played in the game, Ryan Theriot.
That's what I was going to guess at shortstop.
So he apparently had an inning or two at second base. Alan Craig.
Yep.
And actually, I was wrong. Descalso did play in Game 6. He just did not start.
Yeah, I actually just saw a clip of that inning.
That game went 11 innings, right?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Freeze hit the game-tying home run off the right field wall right in front of Nelson Cruz. I still think to this day...
The game-tying triple.
Yeah. I still think to this day either Nelson Cruz is just a horrible outfielder or it was staged because I really thought that ball should have been caught. But he drives in Berkman and Pujols to tie it, and then, obviously a few innings later, hits the walk-off homer, dead center field in that grassy knoll there at Busch Stadium, and that's where you got the call, "We will see you tomorrow night" by Mr. Joe Buck.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to note that I'm not sure Nelson Cruz played another inning of right field after that World Series.
Yeah, he shouldn't have, because I would tell you that any other outfielder that calls himself an outfielder would make that play. Nothing against Derek or you, but I would have trusted you two to make that play.
Oh, I'm catching.
Yeah, so I'm glad that he didn't, because you want to talk about just a moment in sports that is going to live on my entire life. I'll never forget it. Just a great series, really.
Okay.
All right.
So I just want to preface this by saying next time you've got to let me redeem myself because that was awful.
I would like to have this at the end of every show. So I will give you a chance of redemption.
Dude, Derek's going to be feeling horrible that he forgot Thielen.
Yes.
Oh, you will not hear the end of this.
Oh, I know.
And I will say, I believe you are the most washed up on this podcast.
100%. After that performance,
you had to name 4 players. I had to name 9.
But we'll see what you can do because
I think you two need to get together and get me a question. Okay. All right, guys. I think that does it for episode 2. We hope you enjoyed. Make sure you do follow, and subscribe to our content. That way you do know when we put out a new episode or make a post. We are the Washed Up Podcast. Thank you for listening.